an internal Canadian report which was looking into allegations of foreign interference, including an alleged Indian plot in the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Khalistani terrorist in Canada, says that there is no definitive link to India. Now, this after Justin Trudeau went on record, the Canadian Prime Minister, to suggest that in fact there was some sort of an India link. That resulted in relations between India and Canada plummeting, which really begs the question, why did he speak so early? And if there was no evidence, then what is this really all about? Joining us now, Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, Puneet Sani. We're also joined by Terry Milewski, a senior journalist from Canada. Terry, let me come to you first. Now, if there is no definitive link to India in Nijjar's killing as per the Canadian report, what was the basis for Prime Minister Trudeau's earlier claim of there being credible evidence against India?
That he had allegations. What he said was that there were credible allegations, and I think that's still the Canadian position. He did not say that there was definitely. It's something that you suspect based on intelligence. You've got wiretaps, you've got other people's wiretaps. In the case of Washington, D.C., the Biden administration shared that intelligence with the Canadians, and you are confident in it, but you can't always bring classified evidence into court and use it as evidence in a criminal case. And in any case, you can't, in Canada, under Canadian law, prosecutors and politicians, they can't make public the evidence against you. That has to wait for the trial. So there's a certain hunger for evidence. I grant you, you're right about that. But there are reasons. There is a difference between saying that, well, we've got intelligence. Somebody has a wiretap of people in the Indian government plotting to kill two people, among others, Gopatwan Singh Pannoon of Sikhs for Justice and Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada. So we have intelligence. We can't assume that the Americans will let us use that in court, but that gives us confidence in saying that, yep, it looks like the Indian agents are involved in this murder. And there's a difference between that and saying, yep, it's rock solid. We got pictures of them. It's all cut
Terry,
and dry.
It just seems to me to be a pretty big wild goose chase. If you make allegations like this, allegations which are consistently denied, and then you have your own Canadian report come out which says that, sorry, there is no link. It hardly.
I'm sorry.
It just seems. Yeah, it seems bizarre.
No, it's not bizarre at all. I'll tell you why. The report that you're citing explicitly takes the opposite position to what you're describing. This report says the problem that she is identifying in that paragraph and in that sentence is disinformation by India in the wake of the Prime Minister's allegations. What was that disinformation? The disinformation was Indian denials. That what Trudeau said was absurd, it was poppycock, it was nonsense, it wasn't true. That is what she is saying is disinformation. That is to say, deliberately false information. So she is faulting the Indian government for falsely denying its involvement. That's what she's doing in that sentence and in that paragraph and
Terry,
throughout the report, which never questioned.
Also referred to allegations by some in Canada of there being some sort of media campaign against Trudeau, right? That's where I mean pushing a certain line, right? That was disinformation. But that, irrespective of whether you accept that or not, there is no evidence on the table. I mean, even if there is, as you suggest there is, it's not public.
Well, what she's saying, there is evidence. She's saying that she's seen the classified evidence, and what she's seen tends to confirm the Canadian story, if I can call it that.
All right.
As expressed by the Prime Minister, that India was definitely involved in this murder and in many other crimes, which the RCMP described as extortion and other murders involving 30 suspects who have been charged. I mean, it's a serious matter. They're not making these crimes up. The RCMP isn't doing this because some politician wrote the script for them.
Okay. Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, how would you look at what Terry says in terms of the allegations he believes being serious allegations? At least that's what the authors of the report seem to suggest, according to Terry, and the report itself, which seems to suggest that there is no direct India link?
Well, unfortunately, the whole thing has been absurd from the beginning. In my view, Prime Minister Trudeau behaved in a very immature manner, and spoiling the complete relationship. Secondly, there have been no evidence, no proof. We have been asking for it. Intelligence is not evidence, and Terry knows it very well. Secondly, as if you read what Commissioner Hogue has said, she says that disinformation is used as a retaliatory tactic to punish decisions that run contrary to a state's interest. It does not mention India at all. It is talking about Russia, China, Pakistan, and all that in that context. It's in the case of disinformation campaigns are done. But countering an allegation where terrorists are being pampered, which have been from the beginning, extremists are being brought into your country, you are turning into another Pakistan. I mean, you should be basically looking at it from that perspective, larger perspective, rather than making it a narrow kind of assessment of the things. And not, if you had an intelligence, you share it. India has been asking it for many times. Nothing has been there, and this has been proved time and again. So now their own committee says there's no definitive link. Now, more than that, what can you say? I mean, it says there's no definitive link with India. Now, that is clearly explicitly written in the report. So I think we can make any kind of an assessment out of it, analysis, writing reports on the media, that's a different thing. But the fact remains is that till today, they have not been able to provide any concrete evidence. They went by some eavesdropping that was done by some Americans who shared this intelligence through their ambassador with the Canadians, and Trudeau, in order to supplicate his constituency, really just jumped the gun. I mean, that's precisely how it happened, and he's paying the price for it.
Puneet Sani, I mean, we'll get into, the allegations and the plot itself, but just from a political standpoint, could Trudeau's initial allegations against India have been politically motivated, especially considering the timing during, the strained diplomatic relations? And if so, how does this reflect Canada's international diplomacy with a country which has in the past been a close partner?
Thank you, Vishnu. So you have asked a very good question. So I just want to jog back your memory. So this was not the first disastrous trip of Trudeau. He had a previous disastrous trip of India. And if you look at it, even at that time, he had brought Khalistanis, and it became a huge controversy. And when he went back to Canada, to get rid of the responsibility, he said, Indian intelligence had planted this. And then at that time, the conservative leader was Andrew Scheer. And, in the end, he caught Trudeau. And then he had to acknowledge, no, this was not, we had basically lied. And as the thing is, their NSA, such a senior person, his name was Daniel Zhou. If you Google, you will not find anything because he served the shortest term. So Trudeau actually has a record of, throwing irresponsible allegations to get out of the muck. That is point number one. The report also says, and, for example, the initial assessment.
Apologies, we've lost that line with Puneet. We'll come back to him in a moment. Professor Swaran Singh, my next question to you, going back to the point that Terry makes, the report mentions a possible disinformation campaign by India, it does. But how reliable is this accusation if the same report admits to no definitive link to any foreign state in this killing?
Indeed, and it uses the word no direct link could be established that India may have been, mark the words. So it's a very, very roundabout expression. And what is interesting, I think here is there are too many holes in this bounced up effort to distract attention from domestic crisis, to put it on a foreign nation as to what is the real problem for Canada, which is not how it was. And his own people have over time, showcased that they don't really stand by him in the way he's organizing his continuity in power in that sense. I understand that the High Commissioner of Canada in New Delhi is going on record now to say that this particular report was not expected, was not mandated to deal with the Nijjar killing, which is again an effort, last-ditch effort to, somehow find that they can skirt through facts on the ground. Indeed, November last year, Prime Minister Trudeau himself criticized national security agencies for leaking significant, important, critical information and so on. So it's, I think, the effort to deflect attention from real crisis at home and put it on some foreign national or a foreign country when there is enormous disorganized the license in the name of freedom to people inside Canada to again, cater or propitiate the coalition partners and so on. So this report, I think, is a fairly clear in that sense of saying that they could not find any direct link that India may have been even involved in that disinformation that Terry talks about. And now High Commissioner is saying that report was not supposed to deal with the Nijjar the killing, which is an issue for the Canadian courts, and they will take their own due course of time to tell us what the story is. So multiple, I think, hiccups and multiple botched up efforts to distract people from the real issues. And this report very clearly says that no foreign national, no foreign country was involved, and they were not looking just at India, but a couple of other countries, Russia, Iran, and so on, China. I think this is a public report that again underlines the fact that Trudeau was speaking purely from his own whimsical.
All right, Professor Swaran, one sec. Let me just go back to Terry Milewski. Mr. Milewski, the impact on bilateral relations with this report contradicting Trudeau's claims. I know you have a problem with my use of, of those words. Be that as it may, what are the immediate and long-term implications for India-Canada, ties, particularly in terms of trust and cooperation?
Well, I think that it's going to take a very long time to repair the very serious damage that has been done. But I think we should be clear. Look, I'm no fan of Trudeau. I've been criticizing mainly the Liberal Party for 20 years, and I think sometimes quite vociferously for its indulgent attitude towards Khalistanis. Having said that, on this occasion, we have to be fair. We have to tell it like it is. What this report does, and no, it was not an investigation. The commissioner of this report never investigated the Nijjar killing. It wasn't about the Nijjar killing. This is a subtext. But what she says, what she concludes, is that yes, relations have been derailed. You're right to ask that question, but why? And here's her answer. She says, Canada was trying to improve its bilateral relationship with India. I'm quoting now. However, the assassination of Nijjar, coupled with credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and Nijjar's death, derailed those efforts. In other words, it was the assassination, it was the murder which started this, it was the murder which derailed the diplomatic relationship. It wasn't Trudeau objecting to the murder. If your prime minister received a report that somebody was committing murder in India, if Canada was committing a murder in India, would the Prime Minister say, oh, I don't care, I'm not going to make a fuss? Fine, go ahead. Fire away. I mean, that's just incredible. That's absurd. But that's what's been suggested here. And I find it equally absurd.
No, but Terry, I mean, as Ambassador Trigunayat was saying, if there is evidence, why would you not present it?
I'll give you very quickly two reasons, both of them persuasive on their own.
Yes.
Together, they're unassailable. The first is that if Canada were to reveal publicly the evidence that it obtained from Washington, the wiretaps of the plot taking place, then Canada would not be a member of the Five Eyes intelligence organization ever again. That's a basic rule. No, you are not entitled. I'm sharing this with you on the understanding that you don't reveal it. Second problem, Canadian law. You are not allowed in Canada, it is illegal in Canada for prosecutors and politicians to run around making public the evidence against me. I have the right to face those charges in court with a defense and not have my name blackened before I even get to trial and poison the jury pool. That's not legal in Canada. That's how to lose your case in Canada, is by prejudicing the jury beforehand. So those are two reasons I can offer. There may be others.
All right, Terry, just hold on for a moment. Ambassador Trigunayat, are those arguments convincing?
Well, they may be convincing for the Canadian people, but the international relations and the discourse are not conducted in that manner. Number one, India and Canada have intelligence cooperation. there are channels through which such intelligence is quietly passed. But the fact that Mr. Trudeau chose to go to the parliament and from there he spoke of something. And this was what he's saying, that the American ambassador, in fact, is said to have passed this information, which is called as the Five Eyes intelligence, to the Canadian side, just to make a mockery of the whole thing, frankly. I mean, if you get an intelligence, you try to get the evidence thereafter. And you go out, go and get it, the substantive evidence is then shared. Or whatever you have, when you have an intelligence cooperation between the countries, it is important to share that, yes, these are concerns. That's how the diplomacy is
Canada did that.
conducted, not in the
Canada did
public
exactly
domain
that.
or in the,
Canada
no,
did exactly that.
Sir, so he did not. That's precisely the case. He went public rather than privately getting it done.
But he did
This is,
both. He did both.
well, you don't have to.
But
If you
at
want some,
first, the facts are, sir, excuse me, but the facts are that at first the Indians refused to meet with the Canadians, and when they finally did, the evidence was presented to them in full.
we had never said, and you have seen our High Commissioner, who is very clearly in your media, had clearly told that no evidence was presented. They said they wanted to send some team to India, and the team which was
I
sent
won't
to
say
India,
he's lying, but he was incorrect.
no, you don't. Well, everything is incorrect if you are looking at it from this side. I say what you are saying absolutely has no founding as far as the government of India's position is concerned.
Well,
So the
it
relationship
does
is
have
at
founding
rock
because
bottom.
it's based on sworn evidence. It's based
Sir,
on sworn evidence.
but you cannot deny the fact that Mr. Trudeau had botched it up completely, politically and diplomatically, and for himself domestically. The kind of opposition that he's getting within the country and the kind of charges that are coming out of it for his kind of action that he took, it has not borne fruit at all.
So the answer is yes. If the situation were reversed and there were Canadians committing murder in New Delhi,
Canadians have been
national
committing
government in
it.
India would say, "Fine, go ahead, fire away.
No,
We're not going to
One
make a
yes,
sec.
fuss."
Mr. Terry,
That's a
Mr. Terry,
hypothetical.
no, I
That's
will,
a
I will
hypothetical.
answer it, Vishnu. 1 second. Can you give me a minute? 1 minute. Canadians
Go
have
ahead.
supported the Americans and everybody. You have been bombing the countries all over, and you are telling me just going after some terrorists. India doesn't do that, but you should be taking care of the terrorists and extremists rather than making them grow in your country and become a nuisance for everybody.
All right, look, it's got quite heated. Let's leave it over there. The report does say that there is no link with India. How Canada chooses to pursue this further, there's likely to be a new government in power after the elections. Let's see what finally takes place. But I think that relationship between India and Canada at this stage remains, in a pretty appalling state. Will that improve going forward, given the close people-to-people links? I think that's something we can all agree upon.